Godly Wisdom, The Key to Good Decision-Making by Kim Gentry-Meyer. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. James chapter 5, verse 1. As I was packing my suitcase for a recent trip, I became frustrated by all the decisions I had to make to get everything to fit properly. It made me think about how life itself is made up of endless decisions. It's part of the gift of free will we've been given by the Lord, and it's an integral part of being human. Yet, how often do we make decisions from a place of frustration and impatience instead of thoughtfulness and gratitude? I found myself doing it even with a task as simple as packing my suitcase. I didn't stop to consider that something fragile might be damaged in transit if I was careless. I just crammed everything in wherever I could find space so I could quickly zip it up and be on my way. I only realized the consequence of my impatience after reaching my destination and opening my suitcase to find broken pieces of glass floating around in my clothing. I now call these zip decisions, and I make them more often than I'd like to admit. It's so easy to fall into reactive mode, where we don't stop and consider the opportunities and consequences connected to every single decision we make. Instead, we make zip decisions based on habit or what is most convenient in the moment. While we might not notice a difference at the time, the decisions we make, even the smallest ones, develop into patterns, and these patterns are steps on a path we're building for our lives. It's up to each of us to build a path that honors the Lord and supports our values and our calling. We can make wise decisions based on biblical teachings and the Lord's guidance, or we can make zip decisions that often lead to many broken pieces scattered along our path. My suitcase example points to something much bigger than my packing skills. I tend to rush through tasks due to my lack of patience. This is a pattern I've discovered, and I'm endeavoring to change it by changing the way I approach decision-making. I'm learning I must lean heavily on Scripture to help guide me in making decisions through the lenses of godly wisdom. One of my favorites for this is James chapter 5, verse 1. If any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and it will be given to you. I love this verse because it emphasizes the generosity of the Lord. He doesn't just offer us a little wisdom now and then. He offers it generously and continually. And He offers it not only on the big decisions of life, but on the little things too. The things I tend to make a mess of. Having a decision-making partner who is the literal source of all wisdom is comforting indeed. How different our lives will be if we take Him up on this offer to seek His wisdom in our daily lives. Do you ever find yourself making zip decisions based on habit or impatience? When do you notice it happening most? How can you make it a daily practice to include God in your decision-making process? The world tells us to follow our own truth. But we know that following biblical truth demonstrates godly wisdom and leads to the best path for our lives. What is one area you have seen godly wisdom at work in your life?